So as part of the formality of coming together like this, it's really based on formality of, it's like a ship, creating a collective direction that we all partake in, and in a sense assign ourselves a formal direction. And traditionally this is just taking the refuges in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. And you know, sometimes I think when we come together like this and we kind of chant together, it's something that goes back centuries and centuries of somehow we're connecting to the truth of this simple and direct practice, you know. And these are formalities, and they are in a sense important because you have to have in a sense a direction of a ship, and we're on a ship here. If you don't know it, you're going to find out, you know. The thing about a ship, it you know, can go any direction, 360 degrees. And in this specific case, since we are, in a sense, dedicating ourselves to this whole process of waking up, you know, and it needs, in some way, some encouragement, some resolve, some patience, some perseverance, and the kind of the fundamentals here. So, you know, sometimes when I think of taking refuge, you know, it's almost as if, like, I don't know, I think of the Buddha, and I can't imagine a Buddha, truthfully. You know, it's something that is so broad and beyond my concepts, you know. And so I like sometimes to think of it, oh, I'm taking refuge in the big, something much, much bigger and broader than I can ever imagine, you know? And there's some kind of comfort that, oh, I take refuge in that truth, that the power of the awakening itself is something that we kind of aim and hold ourselves to. In the same way we have taking refuge in Dharma, you know, which is, first of all, it's just the natural mind, you know? And the natural mind in itself knows the truth. And that there is the truth that's actually, when we do these practices of stopping and sitting and investigating what it is that's appearing, you know? And so much of it appears out of nowhere, you know? And so being attentive to that, that is Dharma. You know, it is nature. It is that's unfolding, that's being known by us, you know. And it's wonderful being here in Wyoming. You know, the natural world is so apparent and visible here. And to me also, the Dharma is something apparent and visible in the nature of how we experience things. The third aspect of this is all about Sangha, you know? And so we're coming together here. And in a way that we're creating, and this is the complexity of the kind of situation and place we are, this is a monastery. And that we are here in the sense of supporting each other in this practice of awakening, you know? And it takes each of us to really stay the course and have the perseverance and the support of each of us to create the empowerment to have this natural, to actually own this natural mind, and be, in a sense, you know, move out sometimes of suffering, and see that there is genuinely in that natural mind happiness, you know, not something contrived, something that's naturally there when we're not struggling or fighting or trying to make it different than it is, you know. So you got it, you know. And many of you know the kind of formality of this. And what we'll do is I'll just do it kind of, it will be in Pali and the kind of the language of the ancients. And that in a way I see this as kind of touching into also the ancestors to do this. So I'd like you just to bring your hands together, and we'll go, first part of it is just a salutation, and then take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. And the way so much of these kind of Buddhist lineages are, we'll keep repeating. So, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samha Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samha Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samha Sambuddhassa Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Sangham Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. So it's wonderful to call on the power of the ancestors to come in a way to hold us, to bless us, to remind us to keep on track, that for generations and generations, human beings have come together to practice this practice of awakening. So the second part of this, which is as we have a ship that's now kind of headed out in this direction towards a collective and individual awakening, we also have the fact that as human beings, we need basic kind of guidelines or rules for us to, in a sense, I think sometimes these precepts are just about love. You know, that somehow, that when we understand this, we understand love. You know, And it's about our actions and our speech and how we hold the collective and the community here together. So they're simple, you know. They're so, in some ways, so, you know, this is kind of basic logic, you know, is don't hurt anybody, you know, no harm, you know, and that we don't take what is not given, so that there is a sense of, you know, one of the big things is we're fearful creatures, and so as a collective we come together and we create kind of these simple rules so we can feel safe, because a lot of times when we get really quiet and we have kind of experiences in us that kind of bring up fear or shock or something, we need a community that we can feel safe with, and that's really the process here, you know. So, you know, it's wonderful that we're in nature here, and a lot of times I think it's just this incredible amount of respect for life, you know, in a really positive way. It's such a privilege, you know, to be alive, for all things to be alive and to live out their lives without our interference. You know, whether it's a bug or an elephant, you know, the ideals here are just to allow it to live out its life without our harming in any way. So they simply sometimes not killing, but I think of it as more reverence for life, you know. And then the second one is just not taking what's not given, you know, pretty simple, you know. We leave things where they are. And again, just a piece of love and safety. And then in the case of, you know, human beings, we're you know, we have attractions, we have, you know, it's just that in this arena, as I said, it's a monastery, we're actually creating a community that is about its inward experience. And so part of it is just simply, the simple thing is celibacy. You know, we just say, okay, leave that. That's something that we hold to as a collective and a community, energetically. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, things don't go through the mind, but all of that is just in the mind. Comes through and goes out, you know. So celibacy, you know. Now, the fourth, which is actually a little more complex in this process here, just simply because of the situation we're in here. And it is fundamentally the beauty of this practice, you know, specifically of this practice, is our commitment to silence. You know, it is a place where we all come together as a collective, but the silence itself, which has to be held by each of us, you know, for other. You know, and that that silence is one of the greatest precursors to understanding, to seeing, to knowing, to awakening, you know. So to hold to that here, and I know that because of the situation here, it's a little difficult. I have a couple things I'd like to add on top of this, which, and it really has to do with, in the sense of silence and renunciation, from the complexity of our world. One of the things it's very hard with hot tubs and swimming pools and these wonderful things, but for me the practice here is this having the collective come together in its simplicity, you know. And I know what Marcia said, I'm not. But I would prefer not, that whatever is the key, you know, if I really could wish you something, it would be just to stay in yourself and just to eat, to walk, to sit, to sleep, to eat, to walk, to sit. That's it, you know. Everything will happen in that, you know. And I know it's hard being a resort. This is a little tricky, you know, but just from, I think from both, you know, Joseph and I, that it's such a rare thing to be able to take time out of your life to come to a retreat like this. And our kind of encouragement is to keep it as simple as possible, really, you know, and however you hold that. I know, yeah, it is a resort too, but I encourage that, you know, and I know Joseph supports me in this. We're you know, we do a lot of this, so. The other thing that's become such a, you know, I would like it to be, I think they call it a Wi-Fi free zone, okay? That somehow that there's going to be in the office there, if you have your, you know my stuff I'm talking about here, that you'll get it back, is to actually renounce it and take it, and there's a basket in there where you can leave your cell phone or your iPad or your, you know, I don't know what you bring, but you know, everything that connects with everything. You okay? I want you, you know, we just want you to connect with yourself. That's it, you know? And this doesn't happen very often, you know? This is a rare opportunity, and to take a full advantage of this place, this time, that's the encouragement, is to keep it really simple. You know? And the fifth one is, you know, in some ways, please, if you're taking medications, stay with your medications. You know, this is not some place where we're trying to, you know, switch how we experience things. We simply want to keep it simple. You know, but again, in the tradition, it's a lot of times things that, you know, create, this really create any kind of heedlessness or that we abstain from. So that's, traditionally it's alcohol and drugs and all that. But we also hold that, you know, that for the community, again, it's about safety, you know. So these are the simple rules, and I hope that, you know, I think it's really important about this. You know, as I travel around, it's amazing how many people had their heads stuck in these things, you know, and they talking to them and they, I guess, texting to them and do all these things, you know. So I would love to see renunciation by as many or all of you as possible. You will be fine. You know what? The world will reappear, you know, and it'll be okay. You know, you won't. It won't be a problem. You know, it just appears to be. You know, but that's the way it happens. So, just we're going to just do this in English, and I'm going to kind of repeat it, and then you're going to repeat it back to me. And it is, again, kind of this ritual of committing ourselves as a collective to a direction, okay? So, for the purpose of training, I undertake the precept of non-harming. For the purpose of training, I undertake the precept of not taking that which is not given. For the purpose of training, I undertake the precept of keeping celibacy. For the purpose of training, I undertake the precept of keeping silence. For the purpose of training, I undertake the precept of abstaining from intoxicants. So we commit ourselves to this process of awakening, and the support of the community in holding these and undertaking this. It is ultimately a lovely process to get to know how you operate. So with that, I know that I respect your tiredness. I'm sure many of you have traveled. So, I guess the last piece here is just a minute of just to put your attention in your heart, and to hold the wonder of your very basic good heart mind, and that as we come together, whatever kind of powers or energy or merit that is created through our gathering together like this, that ultimately it is for the benefit of ourselves and all beings everywhere. So, sleep well.